Oh, g'day everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Weekend Wrap, brought to you by CrowCast, of course. And what a good one this is going to be, with a great win by the Crows over North on the weekend, and plenty to talk about. I've already off screen been just absolutely slammed by my co-host, which may mean that he struggles to be heard this evening, but we'll see how we go. Don't forget, of course, that we are live on YouTube, so if you want to have your chat or comment read out on air, just drop us a super chat and we'd be more than happy to do so. And if you're in the live studio audience, of course, you can stick your hand up and we would be happy to have you on, because that's what we do. And don't forget, of course, that this podcast and also the Tuesday Night Live podcast is brought to you by the wonderful people at Next Body Corporate Services, the newest and bestest body corporate management company in Adelaide. One flat fee, no commissions, and prompt personal service is the go there. So joining me, of course, on the Weekend Wrap, as usual, is Browny. How you going, Browny? I'll just take you off mute now. I had you on mute because I was just wondering whether you and Bigman were going to actually get a gig tonight, but there you go. Have another crack. How are you,
with
mate?
me now?
Yeah.
I am very well, mate. I unfortunately didn't get to the game due to other commitments, but yeah, it would have been a nice one to be at. Would have been by far the best, the most enjoyable game to watch. So I watched the replay, and yeah, I wasn't expecting that, so I was pleasantly surprised.
Very good. And Big Man, of course. How you going, mate?
Good, mate. Hope you weren't referring to me in that introduction.
Never.
But no, it was a lot of fun. That second quarter was I was laughing at, by the end of it. It was just some of the most ridiculous goal scoring I've seen from us for a long time. It was good fun.
It certainly was. It was an enjoyable game to watch. I was lucky enough to go, obviously, on Brownie's ticket. And, it was a lot of fun to watch, particularly in that second quarter where we just decided to play some vintage early 2025 football, which was nice to see. All right. Now, why isn't my little overlay working here, I wonder? Let me just have a little look. Be there. Don't know why it's not there. Anyway, we'll soldier on without it. Just looking at the scores real quick over the weekend, with a bit of an upset just finished. Well, why isn't that working? I don't know why that's not working. Anyway, I'll just read them out because that seems to be the easiest way to do it tonight. So it started off, of course, on Thursday night with the Cats getting over the Lions by 41. On Friday, we had the Swans getting up over Collingwood in a tight one, and the Suns getting up over Port. Saturday, as well as our great game, we had Melbourne toweling up the Hawthorn, which was a bit of a surprise. Carlton doing the new coach bounce and getting up over the Bulldogs. And then today we had Fremantle touching up Essendon, St Kilda doing a number on Richmond, and the late one, the Eagles, getting up over the Giants, which was not expected by anyone, I wouldn't have thought.
Yep. It's actually I didn't know if you're transitioning to another segment there, but no, it's actually, I mean, look, I know it's just a wild card round and it's a bit of a fluff fest, like it doesn't really mean a whole lot, but in terms of actually making that, the Giants losing helps us. It sort of pushes that group down a bit and separates us after Saturday's win. So, and good for West Coast too. They've been through a bit of shit, so I'm glad to see them get a win.
Yep, agreed. Agreed. Sorry, I'm just doing a little bit of troubleshooting here real quick just to try and get my little overlay working because I don't have any idea why it wouldn't be. But to no avail. That's right. We will soldier on doing old school tonight, I think. Might be the easiest. What do you reckon? I'll just try one more thing. You guys just talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Brownie?
I haven't got a great deal to say, big man.
Well, that's a problem.
One thing actually. What do you reckon about the crowd Saturday? Do you reckon it was just because it was an afternoon game and weather forecast?
Oh, look, I reckon 41,000. I will say that's a good result considering. I don't know, man. It didn't feel like there was 41,000 there just quietly, but anyway, if that's what they say, then whatever.
I'm telling you right now, there was no way there was 41,000 there.
There's a lot of empty seats, and the hill wasn't that packed because it was wet, and I don't know, maybe they're all in the marquees outside or something. But no, look, it's a terrible time slot because people are playing sport and footy, and obviously, and the weather wouldn't have helped as well. Tomorrow I looked about 37, 38. So I'm surprised it was 40 plus, but I mean, that's if that's real, which I don't think it is. It's a good result, I think, considering. And North Melbourne aren't a high drawing team at the best of times.
No, traditionally not. Terrible. Traditionally
I thought given the forecast was for pretty crap weather, and everyone was playing footy, I thought that was a pretty reasonable result anyway. Even if it was 35, not actual numbers, that's a pretty good result.
The weather was actually pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, look, I have a lot of respect for our crowds. Like, even when we've been shit, we still turned up pretty much every week. If that was Port playing North on Saturday at 12, I don't think they would have got 30,000.
Yeah, no,
if they did, they would have just crossed it. So,
now, Radicus on YouTube has kindly supported the cast as he does very often. So he says, so does Saturday's game show we can now move on from Sir Tex? Was nice to see they actually tried to play to their strong points. Owen Port got sunburnt. We'll probably talk about that Tex situation during the course of the evening, I would imagine. And if anyone else has an opinion on that, of course, they can either drop a chat in YouTube or stick their hand up, Vardy Magic, and come on the podcast and speak verbally. All right, just a quick look at the ladder now that the systems have been resumed. Sydney on top with Fremantle, both on 9 wins. Geelong, Gold Coast and Melbourne on 7. Hawthorn, Brisbane, Adelaide in the 8 on 6. Now a game clear of St Kilda and the Bulldogs in the wildcard slots. And then we got Collingwood North, GWS on 4 wins. Port on 3 along with West Coast, Carlton 2, Essendon and Richmond 1 apiece. So we are now in the 8 and... only a game and a bit of percentage out of the 4. Who would have thought?
I don't think we're in that. If you look at the teams above us, I think there's a pretty clear 5 or 6, which we don't fit into. But the important thing is, particularly playing, beating a team like North, who I know aren't getting, a great team by any means, but they've been in good form, and they're a team that's going to be challenging for those last few spots in the top 10. So. To push them away and give ourselves a bit of a buffer zone. That was really important because we've got a couple of tough games coming up. So we said this was almost a must-win game, considering the circumstances, and that's why I'm so glad we got the job done. But then to do it in the style we did, boss, I couldn't believe what I was seeing at times, especially in that first half.
Well, apart from the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, when admittedly North had 26 on the ground because some of the umpiring decisions, and even Matthew Nix referred to it quite well, I thought, in his press conference when he said, we made a few mistakes in the first 5 or 10 minutes and we weren't the only ones. I thought, that's actually a pretty good comment.
It was, like Brownie, I mean, I'll be honest, Brownie, at the game, it felt like we were getting screwed over. Having watched the replay, I think a few of those free kicks probably were there. There's little things I see when you're
I don't think there were any that weren't there though. I think if we're
Oh,
complaining
I
about
think I
that,
think Curtis dragged Laird down with him for that second goal. But
nah,
overall, we were
no,
asleep
that
and
was
we're getting a rough deal. It was a shit out start. I thought, oh no, here we go again. But and what did they skip? They kicked the first 4 or 5 scores of the game,
Yeah, it was 2 goals forward to
so they
zip.
could have really, yeah. So it was looking ugly. But thankfully we got into gear, and before we knew it, we were actually in front.
Yes, and why don't we just crack into it and look at the scores, because that's what we're here to talk about. And of course, it was Adelaide after a blistering second quarter, 20 goals, 13, 1, 3, 3. North Melbourne, 9 goals, 11, with a couple of cheapies in the last 65. In the end, a margin of 68, but blew out past 80 at some stage. Disposals for Adelaide, Rankin had 28, Laird had 25, breaking the consecutive games over 15 possessions record held by Scott Pendlebury. And Jordan Dawson, 24. For North, Parker had 20, I think it says 28, Harry Sheasel, 24, and LDU, 22. Goal scorers, Rash had 3, James Peatling had 2, Jake Saligo had 2, Castle Thousands had 2 actually. For North, Curtis had 3, Connor O'Sullivan had 1, and George Wardlaw had 1. Brownie, just give me your overall before we dive into the deep end on it. Just give me your overall thoughts on the win and why it looks so different to what we've been seeing in recent weeks.
yeah. Well, as you alluded to earlier, I thought our pressure was up, and I think we play our best football when we play that high pressure game. And
Mm.
apart from probably the first 10 minutes, I thought we took a little while to get going, and then we sort of just snapped into gear, and the pressure was strong. On the back of the pressure, I thought we also started trying to take the corridor, trying to be a bit more aggressive. There was clearly, obviously, they've been training to use more handball during the week from what they were saying, and it was clear, in that late in the first quarter and the second quarter that we were trying to get a releasing that sort of ball out of the back line, and I think it worked pretty well. That and the fact that we actually took the corridor a little bit, not every time, but we did take the corridor when there were chances, and most of the times it stuck. I really loved seeing Cumming playing in in the half back line and actually
Yep.
just running at the ball and delivering. Um, so hoping the rumor about his hamstring is only nothing major, because he
Going
looked
to get
really good
scans
there.
tomorrow,
But
apparently.
yeah, but overall, I just thought the pleasing thing, I think when we play our best football, we share the ball around and we do have multiple goal scorers. And I thought it was great that we had, I don't know, it was probably what, 8 guys at least that kicked 2 goals. I thought we weren't reliant on anyone in particular, which is really the way you got to play if you're going to be a competitive team in the finals. And so overall, it was just it was a different look to what we've been serving up the last few weeks, and it was just refreshing to see. And it would have been great for the players just to see us scoring heavily. We're 100 points in the third quarter, which is unheard of this year. And I think they would have got a lot out of that, and it really would have done a lot for their confidence. So I think it was a really positive game.
Yeah, it would have been a fun game to play in Bigman, I would have thought.
Yeah, it was sort of fill your boots time, wasn't it? When you know the results basically sewn up with half of game to go. So we haven't been in that position for a long time, even against Richmond, which we sort of eked out a 7-goal win. This was actually the first time in a long time, even going back to last year, where it felt like we actually had the game sewn up so early. So, yeah, it was nice. I'm sure, as Brownie, like he said it really well, like the confidence they would have got from that. We've sort of been waiting for that pop game where we sort of click and it all comes together. And I wasn't expecting it to be this game, to be honest, because North have been such a restrictive team, and we've been obviously all over the shop. But yeah, it just happened. It's remarkable. This game reminded me so much of the Brisbane game, but in reverse. They looked like we did against Brisbane. They were fumbly. They were. This is North I'm talking about. They were, making pretty much every error in the book, and we were doing everything right. Even our miss kicks seemed to work out. So it was just, it was a lot of fun, and hopefully, I mean, look, we've got much bigger fish to fry in the next few weeks as well that are going to obviously give us a lot more resistance, but just for the well-being and the mentality of the group, I think it was significant.
Just running through quickly some of the team head-to-heads, 223 kicks to 181 in our favour, 164 handballs to 139. We just had far more of it. Overall, 129 contested possessions to 103, which is where I thought we really won it, but we got it on the outside a lot too. 254 uncontested possessions to 203, 14 centre clearances to 13, but around stoppage we destroyed them, 27 stoppage clearances to 19. Big man, Matthew Nix a few weeks ago famously said we didn't earn the right to play a certain style of running football. And in his press conference after yesterday's game, he said we did earn the right to play that sort of football. And I think him saying that probably put into context what he was referring to, because clearly the game was won with our efforts around the contest and our ground ball in particular, and also our pressure at the opposition ball carrier. So maybe the deal is that he wants us to get the game on his own terms before he's willing to, or before the players are really able to take advantage of that and move the ball forward quickly.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Nick sort of has these little sayings, doesn't he? And I'll be honest, I don't take too much notice of them because they get a bit monotone by the end. Sometimes Nixie says a lot of things. I think that he just says the things that come to his head immediately and doesn't really filter them through. And but look, at the end of the day, I can only judge by what we're seeing on the field. And bar that first 10 minutes, you're right. The pressure in the contest was really good. It's a shame we didn't come to play with that. I don't know what we're doing in our warm ups, but obviously it's not quite working at the moment. We were flat as attack, but to then just to click into gear and just you're on, you're in a good space, you're having a good day when you always got extra numbers to the contest. You're getting spoils in, you're smothering the ball, you're intercepting kicks, and we sort of made our own luck just by the fact that our boys were working so much harder than them and just going that extra bit, 5% more, harder at the ball as well. And we're up against a pretty good contested side. Their midfield in particular has got some genuine guns in it. But we made them look pedestrian and a little bit insipid at times, which is probably the first time our midfield's actually done that all year. So, but we brought it all around the ground. Like our forwards are laying tackles, like Toby Murray, big tackles. The defenders were a bit scratchy early, but I thought they got their act together pretty quickly as well. And yeah, I was pretty impressed. It was one of those games where it was actually hard to pick who were the absolute standout players, but at the same time, it was hard to pick out anyone who actually had a bad day. So many players just had at the very least a good game, and that's that hasn't happened for a while, I think.
Yeah. The Brownie, the pressure rating differential in the second quarter was ridiculous. So I think our pressure rating was 289 or something, and North was down around 129. How much of it do you think was our pressure, and how much do you think was North just going to the bus early?
Well, you'd have to say they didn't seem switched on in the second quarter, but and that's like chicken and egg. Were they not switched on because of our pressure, or did our pressure look better because they weren't switched on? It's really hard to tell. But the only thing you can say is it's a constant with Adelaide when our pressure is up, and when you've got like things like you saw a couple of chase downs that Rankin did. When you've got your midfielders on the forward line, you're pressuring really well on the forward line, you know that we're on, because in our games, like at the end of last year when we sort of dropped off, that wasn't happening at all. We didn't bring pressure at the start, but we didn't bring pressure at any stage really. And like Bigman said, it's a bit strange that we it took 10 minutes to get going. It was like we flicked the switch and we just started, whether it was just a couple of goals, and then we thought, yeah, we got to get into this. But that's the only worry still, is if you have a flat 10 minutes against a good side like Hawthorn, they've got 5 goals, it's, it could cost a bit more. But the fact that we did put the pressure on, we kept it up. Like the second quarter was exceptional. Third quarter, not too bad. We probably dropped off a little bit in the fourth quarter, but we probably just run out of juice. I think we worked so hard in that second and early in the third quarter that we're going to probably, have to slow down at some point.
Probably a bit of preservation mode too, I reckon. Brownie, like the boys, knowing knowing you got the win, but you also got a 5-day break coming up into Hawthorn. No one wants to get hurt. It's like it's almost like a pre-season game at that point.
Yeah, 100%. And if that's the case, that's the way it should have been. And that would have been coming from the bench. You would think they would have been told to, not kill yourself, because 5-day break against a team like Hawthorn in Tasmania is going to be a challenge for sure.
Some pretty amazing stats. The one that really, well, I'll go through them, and then we'll talk about a couple. 73 tackles to 42. We destroyed them. It illustrates our pressure. 105 marks to 77. Of those contested marks, 9 to 4. I thought we took a few more contested marks, but anyway. Hit outs 32 to 45. I thought Lockie McAndrew did okay against Jerry. Sort of warmed into the game and hit the scoreboard as well. Marks inside 50, 16 to 11. Inside 50s, though, 49 to 44. We had 75.5% efficiency inside 50, which means that three quarters of the time that we went into the forward 50, we scored, which is an insane amount, really. Intercepts off halfback 53 to 51, rebound 50s 35 to 29. So, an interesting game, because we only had 5 more inside 50s, but I think the speed with which we moved the ball and the way we were playing and using all of the ground really allowed our forwards to get separation, and it became really difficult for them to defend, I felt. And that's something that we haven't seen all season. We've seen blokes go up against each other, or long bombs into the pack, but it was a different story with the smaller forward line, Brownie. And someone raised the question about Tex, and probably given the selection committee something to think about.
Yeah, it was it was definitely a massive improvement in terms of spotting ups and targets. I mean, I thought Fogarty, like, he led really well, and he probably got spotted up 3 or 4 times in the forward 50. Saligo similarly. And if we weren't spotting people up on the lead, we were dropping it into a hole over the back.
Yeah.
There are quite a few goals, like McAndrew, that one when he was running back into goal and he got spotted up, 25 metres out. That was fantastic. So we had a lot more options. Maybe it opened up a bit more, but too, I think it's the speed at which we actually got the ball into the forward 50 assisted as well. So it's a bit of a combination, but it was just a massive improvement on what we've seen all year.
Now, big man, Barney the Crab in the chat reckons that there was a meeting between players and coaches on the Monday that had a few hard home truths spoken and a bit of an outcome, and maybe that was the consequence, that we saw a much more free-flowing style of game.
Yeah, it's a tongue twist, isn't it? Free-flowing. I get that one.
Yeah.
I get that one wrong sometimes. Look, that's interesting from Barney. Obviously we can't verify that, but if it's true, the proof was in the pudding on Saturday, wasn't it? That was
no.
It looked like
no. Say it properly. The proof of the pudding was in the eating, big man.
Oh,
it's a pet hate of mine,
it, mate. I was just condensed. You know how I like to keep things short and to the point. So
yeah, Yeah, just refer to the 2-hour, 45-minute podcast we did last Tuesday night.
No, we don't we don't talk about that. Now, look, I think that's you know, it was obvious at the game. Now, obviously, I think, or not obviously, but I think that North Melbourne probably, with their, dropping off their pressure, allowed us to do it. But there was definitely a greater emphasis on handball and handball chains and overlap running to receive. Stuff we just haven't seen much in the first couple of months of the season. There was a couple of times where we actually overdid it and looked like a team that hadn't really refined that element of the game. But I was just happy to see it, to be honest. More often than not, it worked. So I mean, hopefully, if that's if it is true that there's been some talks behind the scenes, and obviously I think that would have been a big focus, would be addressing our game style. Then it might get a bit scratchy here or there going forward, but I'm all for it if that's the case.
I love the way chat just picks it up and runs with it. We've now got a debate about which pudding's the best in chat, and they never let us down.
Oh.
We've even got a Pink Floyd reference there. Very good, Robsy. I love it. You can't have any pudding if you don't eat your meat.
What do you reckon, Brownie? What's the best pudding?
I'm not a pudding kind of guy, mate, so I'd say none.
Oh, jeez. Boss, what about you?
Just absolutely destroyed that conversation then, Brownie. Well done. Christmas pudding for me, mate. Nice and fruity.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, not bad. Do you like brandy with it or not? Like, do you the brandy sauce stuff or?
Don't go into details. Just leave it where it is.
I like a good lemon. Actually, I do like a good lemon delicious, to be honest. But sticky date goes well too. So anyway, moving on.
That's not. Come on, big man. We're trying to keep this bloody PG.
Yeah. I don't want to have to put explicit content on the rating. Where were we? All right. Yeah. Look, I wonder whether. I mean, you mentioned, big man, that at times it looked a little bit stunted and a little bit, not fluent. And I think the good thing from that point of view is they didn't go into their shell when it got broken down, and it just seemed to me that they'd been given a little bit of a license. I still felt that we used the ball by foot predominantly. I think the difference was that we were actually using overlap to release the kicker and get the ball to the outside. That was the biggest difference for me, rather than just bombing and kicking out of contest and all the rest of it. We were actually trying to get it to the outside clear player. So we're still kicking the ball, which is fine because the ball was moving across the ground quickly. So it wasn't as handball happy as, say, we've seen from Geelong over the last few weeks, but it was certainly more aggressive, don't you think?
Yeah, and we don't want to see handball happy because it's probably not our strength because we haven't been doing it. And there were a few times in the game. I think Berry comes to mind in particular. Like 2 or 3 times he handballed to a stationary bloke who was under pressure, but he wasn't the only one. There's probably 4 or 5 handballs that were just hospital handballs, or to guys that were completely hot. And it wasn't that they were doing it like they weren't handballing under pressure. They were open and they could see what was in front of them, and they still handballed to the wrong person.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room for improvement there, but the fact that we're actually trying it is the thing that's most important. We keep
and I think once you see something be successful, right. Sorry, Brownie, you kind of dropped out a little bit there. Once you see something be a bit successful, you tend to continue it, and I think they got a bit of confidence as they were getting results. And I think it's interesting. A bloke like Berry, we've been praising the fact that he's been able to drive the legs and get through congestion himself. I hope that he retains that rather than turning into a handball first kind of mid, because it, as you pointed out, it's not always the right option.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think as much as Berry, made a few mistakes that way, like he had more handballs than kicks, and I think that's the first time he's had a higher handball ratio for the year. But I still think he did a lot of good stuff. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just using him as an
Yeah,
example of the
yeah,
fact that we didn't get it right, but we've got a lot of upside.
yeah. I guess the test, big man, and without sort of moving too far ahead, but the test is whether they'll have the courage, and by they I mean both the players and also the coaching staff, have the courage to continue with that sort of game style against pressure opposition.
Well, we'll have to wait and see on Thursday night, won't we? Because I mean, Hawthorn are a very skilled football team who have some really talented half forwards. So if we cough up the ball in dangerous areas of the ground, chances are they'll turn it around quickly and have a shot on goal. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, as I said, I'm really happy that we did it. You're right though, away from home, potentially on a slippery night, and other games going forward as well, like Geelong after the bye. That it'd be interesting to see if we have the same courage, I guess would be the word, to play that way.
Yeah.
I hope we do, because I do think it even though we haven't really trained and refined it, it feels like it suits us a bit more. And what it does do, obviously, is, as you guys have talked about, is give our forwards more space to work with. It makes them more dangerous, and we also lowered our eyes with a lot more. And I know that's partly due to the fact we had a shorter forward line, but it's just the way we were playing the game too. We're constantly getting one-on-ones, isolated one-on-ones, which was with dangerous guys like Rochelle and Saligo and others. I can't. I can. I just think to myself, geez, Riley still thought I'd be watching that on Saturday and thinking, I wish I was out there. And where's this been all year? Because he would have done heaps with that sort of ball movement.
Well, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? When we talk about who we inject back in there, and Riley's obviously got to come back in, do we continue to play him out of the square, or do we play him a little bit higher? What I enjoyed is just, as Brownie said right at the outset, that not only were we lowering our eyes and kicking to leads, but we're also putting it to the advantage of our forwards. And because there was so much separation and space in the forward line, our blokes would just get to work. And I think, we've been saying for a long time that what's the point in having a gold-class forward line if you take 20 minutes to get the ball down there and their workspace is just all clogged up. And I think we've seen what happens when you do move the ball fast, and would have thought it would have been obvious to professional coaches earning a couple $100,000 a year or whatever, but we did see evidence of what happens or what can happen with quick football and an open forward line, because you just don't get set as a defence. You can't get set when the ball is being moved that quickly, and that's where we got a lot of our goals. Why don't we just have a look? Why don't we have a look at some of our player stats? And as you mentioned, big man, it was hard to there wasn't any real standouts, I didn't think. But there were good players all over the ground, so we'll probably have to sort of chop and change a little bit around here. But I think we'll start with Isaac Rankin, and I said this to Brownie when we were talking earlier on today. The thing about Rankin's game, not that he was overly dominant necessarily, but to my eye anyway, it was a real midfielder's game. He worked both ends of the ground. He did a lot of the defensive stuff, run down tackles, all the rest of it. And I think, to my eye, big man, and I'll be interested in your thoughts on this, to my eye, he looked like a real midfielder on the weekend.
Yeah, his centre work in particular, he had a couple of really clean takes with some really rapid fire handballs that put others into space, like Dawson and such. He does feel like he's our most natural stoppage player. And when he's in form and confident and, in the right headspace, he's such a clean footballer, which is probably not something we say about a lot of our players. And you just see that little bit of class difference. A couple of times he overdid it. Maybe he was trying to be too unselfish at times, to be honest. But 10 clearances, most of them quality. And we know what he can do when he gets in the forward half of the ground, and around goals as well. So that's 2 great games he's had now. And this time, it wasn't against Richmond. It was actually against some A-class midfield talent. And getting some attention as well. I'm surprised they didn't go harder on the tag, to be honest. I feel like he was able to take some more marks and get a bit more space than I expected.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like, he just looks like he's enjoying his footy all of a sudden, and it's also, he's actually got a few games under the belt after being obviously really underprepared in terms of his match fitness, and haven't not played a game since August last year, and leading into the season. So it's coming together for him, and you're right, he's probably our most informed player at the moment, which is not something he was obviously even a month ago. So it's been great to see, and obviously this full-time midfield role, it's working wonders at the moment. He looks really comfortable in there.
Yeah, as Jake said in the YouTube chat, Brownie, it was his work rate. It was his ability to work all over the ground. He wasn't sagging off. He wasn't dropping off defensively. It was his, and a couple of those chase down tackles, were fantastic. Yeah. And he was really engaged, Brownie, for the entire game. And I thought he dealt with the tag reasonably well. Would have been, one of the few times he's had a tag on as a midfielder. And he just really looked the part as far as I'm concerned in that midfield group.
Yeah, he just looked really engaged. I mean, probably the first 10 minutes he had it, like, that was a really hard tag, and he pretty much didn't get near it. And I thought the way that he just worked his way through that tag, I reckon by the second half of the second quarter, they'd pretty much given up on tagging him, because you saw him at a few of the stoppages and he actually had space and time. So it was really good. But yeah, I do like the way he ran back defensively a lot more aggressively than he has, and that's been probably one of our knocks on him in the past, is he's a really good midfielder when he's getting his hands on the ball, but when we're not getting the ball, he's not working hard enough going back. And I thought he really did. And I thought, he probably still, isn't quite as clean in front of goal when he's running into goal. He's still missing a few. So he's got a fair bit of upside. If he has a game like that with 28 possessions and kicks 3 goals, all of a sudden he's a bloody match winner. So I think, he's got a lot of upside, but I think he's obviously got his head around. Like, it's taken him a while to work himself into being a midfielder, because he, like you said last year, he's not a natural midfielder. He's had to learn how to play the role. And I feel like that was a bit of a breakout game in terms of him running both ways. So let's, hope it continues.
Yeah, 15 kicks, 13 handballs, kicked a goal, 3 tackles. Sorry, big man. 15 contested possessions, 15 uncontested possessions, 7 inside 50s, 2 rebound 50s, 3 centre clearances, and 7 around stoppage. Just a complete performance, big man.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing Brownie say he's not like a totally natural midfielder. He's had to learn the craft, and I think that's definitely a fair assessment. What I would say, I think he's a natural goal, ground ball player, and his contested ball is as good as anyone on our list, and probably better than the likes of a Dawson, Rochelle, and others that we run through the midfield. So I can see why it worked. It's probably taking a bit of time, and I should have mentioned those. There was at least 2 rundown chases through the corridor. I mean, that stuff was elite. They both, helped prevent goals to North Melbourne. So, as you mentioned, it was just such a well-rounded performance from him, both, defensively, but also what he was doing with the ball.
Yes, indeed. Jordan Dawson, I thought, also had a pretty solid 4-quarter game, playing in various roles. But 14 kicks, 10 handballs, kicked a goal, 5 tackles, 8 contested and 18 uncontested possessions, 6 inside 50s, 2 rebound 50s, 3 centre clearances, 1 around stoppage. We've said everything that we need to say, I guess, about Jordan Dawson, but it was just a really solid, classic Dawson game again, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Brownie,
well, he had the... you go, big man.
I was going to say, I was going to ask you, Brownie, especially when you're at the ground, is there a player on our list that you're more confident seeing leading up at the ball or in a marking situation than Dawson, that you're expecting him to take the mark? Because for me, he's still I know Thilthorpe's obviously injured, but I'm just so confident whenever he's leading the ball carrier or he's going for a mark. It just looks like he's always going to take it.
Yeah, when he's on, I think he just jumps and gets the ball at the highest point, and he's got long arms, so it's hard to spoil, and he's just got sticky hands. You don't see him double grab marks very often. He doesn't run under the ball like Phil Thorpe does a bit as well. So I think he's just a natural mark. I think, I think he's probably, when he's playing his best footy, he'd be the one that you know, put your life on to take a mark for sure. But on the weekend, like that bloody run down the wing and goal from 50 was just elite. When you've run that far,
Buddy
you
Franklin.
bounce it twice, you've run that far, and your legs are like jelly, and you've still got the ability to bloody nail it through it was a like 45-degree angle or whatever it was. That was just an elite goal.
Yeah, it certainly was. And me and Cam at the game, Brownie, were yelling out Buddy at the time because it was one of those Buddy Franklin goals. Just burn him off.
Yeah, similar. For sure.
I thought James Peatling actually had a really good game. Wasn't flashy, but 12 kicks, 10 handballs, 2 goals, 6 tackles, 11 contested, 11 uncontested, 1 rebound, 53 centre clearances, none around stoppage. I feel like he's working into this season now as well, big man. He's starting to hit the contest pretty hard, run a bit. I think he's got a bit more run in his legs now. He's got over that calf or whatever it was that he had. And I thought his work rate, particularly in the second quarter, was above par for him.
No, I agree. I think it's interesting. Like, I feel like he cops a bit. Like when people talk about how ordinary our midfield is, he's usually one of the ones they list. Usually it's like they say Berry, Peatling, and co. And I feel like he's underrated in some respects. He's not a massive possession winner, but he's quite dynamic. We know he blasts on the boot a bit too much, but even on the weekend, I thought he just a couple of times he looked to drive the legs a bit more and run with the ball a bit more, and that's stuff that we haven't really seen much this year. But he just his output, I think, he's developed a bit more consistency, similar to Berry. He's not. Neither are pulling up massive numbers, obviously, except for Berry in the showdown. But they both had some pretty quiet games last year. But this year they've set probably a better baseline. Yeah. And he gets the odd free kick where he obviously accentuates a bit and stuff like that. But he's also a goal kicking midfielder. And I think that's what separates him from some of the others, is that he actually can get forward and hit the scoreboard. And if he can do that, then I think he's still, obviously a pretty important member of the team. I like to think there's still another level he can go to at some point, but his last few weeks have been pretty solid.
I think there probably is a bit more of another level, Brownie. What do you reckon? I think he's we've got to remember he wasn't a permanent midfielder when he came across from GWS, and so he's probably learning that craft a little bit as well.
Yeah, and maybe still whether he completely got the motor for it, but I mean he's had 22 possessions, and I think late in the first quarter they put him onto Sheasel, because Sheasel had 6 possessions in the first 10 minutes, and he was just absolutely killing us. And Peatling, I don't know if Peatling stayed on him for the whole game, but he obviously cubed him. Sheasel only ended up with 24 for the game, so he was doing a bit of a negating role as well as an attacking role, and he just gets his head over the ball. 2 frees, just down, trying to get a hard ball. Didn't duck his head or do anything, that he shouldn't have. He was just bloody hard at the ball. I think he had 6 tackles. His disposal a couple of times was a bit dodgy, but you take that. I mean, I think that might be a case that, when he's working so hard, occasionally his kicks not be there, but his best game for the year, and he hit the scoreboard. So no, that was a good result.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit of a victim of a lot of people didn't know what sort of player he was, so their expectations may not have aligned with what he actually could do.
Yeah, I think you're
Big-
right. He's
Mm.
and
Big man, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, I think Discord's doing some
No,
nasty
you
things
you,
for us.
you let me worry about the audio, mate. You just keep talking. I can see the chat too.
I
Don't
can't hear
worry.
Brownie though.
Oh, can't you? Brownie,
Nah,
speak.
for me, Brownie, like
you can't hear me.
I can hear him now, but every so often, like a couple of times now, he's sort of like just disappeared for like 20
Yeah,
seconds.
but that's not Discord. That's because he lives in the sticks and his internet's shit,
Oh, yeah.
and he won't listen to me and upgrade his bloody internet. Yeah, no, that's not Discord.
Sorry,
That's just him fading in
All
and out.
good.
All right, let's talk about Rash because I thought he had a pretty fun game. 12 kicks, 6 handballs, 3 goals, all of them pretty elite. 1 tackle, 6 contested possessions, 10 uncontested possessions, 1 mark inside 50, 3 inside 50s himself. But should have had Goal of the Year nomination, but Ben Keys owes him a car, I think, big man.
Oh, look, it's funny that people saying he was angry at Keezy. I'm pretty sure he was angry at the umpire for not paying the holding fee. But yeah, it's look.
I was in the
I mean, those
I was
goals-
in the riverbank stand, right, looking right down on it. And I can tell you right now, it wasn't anger, but it was certainly frustration at Benny Keys for cutting his lunch.
Look, he can get a bit petulant, old Rashi. Yeah, like he's a competitor, but he also wants to be the man, and he wants the moment. And yeah,
Mate,
I
he's
think,
just
I'm
he's
not
just
surprised.
bloody socketed it and wrestled it from 50. I think he deserved it. Benny Keys has come in like a flock of seagulls and bloody nicked his lunch. Benny Keys should have been shepherding.
Well, I suppose the positive for Rash is that the other goals he did kick were awesome. That spin one he did, he's so good at that. And then obviously the left foot on the boundary. Just got freak goal sense, boss. He's a real talent around goals. I know he's not getting much midfield time with Rankin obviously getting the bulk now, but I think we could use him a bit more in there because I think he looked all right in there actually. But yeah, he's deadly around goals, and I just thought his competitiveness was up compared to how it was on against Richmond a week ago. Maybe the short sleeves also helped.
I don't think it had anything to do with it. And you got rightly destroyed on Tuesday night for that comment, so I'm glad about that.
By one person.
Relentlessly.
He wasn't happy whoever he is.
That left foot goal was his best in my opinion, simply because of spinning out of that pack and being on his left, but also the way his momentum was going away from goals as well, to be able to hook that around and get it through on such an angle in that circumstance was pretty top notch. And he gave a little my pocket to the crowd, which was fun. And he certainly has a sense of occasion, Josh. But he's I agree with you. He could have spent a little bit more time in the midfield, but he's good value up front too.
Bloody oath.
Brownie, you mentioned Darcy Fogarty. I thought he also, particularly in the first half, he probably blew up a little bit in the second half, but in the first half, he was very, very good. Only the 11 disposals, but kicked 2 goals, 6 contested and 6 uncontested. Took 5 marks inside 50 as well, and it was good to have him back. And I just felt like he was really engaged in what was going on and took his moment, except for that one shot at goal that he missed. But 5 marks inside 50 was good. 7 marks overall, and as you said, led very strongly, particularly early.
Yeah, I thought his strength at the marking contest was fantastic. A couple of them were he was under a fair bit of pressure, and his hands, for someone that's been out for a couple of months, his hands were really, really, really good. He didn't look like a player that had missed a heap of football. He also gave one away and did a few good like pressure acts as well. So I think it was a really good game. But as you said, like he's bound to be puffing at the end there, and he went a bit quiet. That might have been a combination of fitness and also maybe wasn't quite as much opportunity there as we yeah, took the foot off the pedal at the end there a bit, so maybe he didn't get quite the opportunity. But yeah, that was a massively encouraging performance. Gives you a bit of confidence that if we've only got one or two of our tools and some quality smalls, that we can still play some good football.
Yeah, Reggie in the chat says, huge win. I think it's time we started talking about McAndrew as a top 6-ish ruck in the league. His tough taps it beautifully and is now kicking goals. Just looking at Lockie's stats, 6 kicks, 3 handballs, 2 goals, 6 tackles, 3 marks, 19 hit-outs, 7 contested and 2 uncontested possessions, 1 mark inside 50. Big man, I actually thought that Cherry lowered his colours in ruck work, but I felt like McAndrew held his own pretty well and got some decisive taps, but also made Cherry pay by running forward and having an influence there. How do you see it?
Well, yeah, I mean that was a great bit of work rate from him, and then you got another goal, of course, after the German suplex or whatever we want to call it from Cherry. That was pretty funny to watch. Yeah, look, he didn't get much game time, but neither did Sherry. It's almost like North Melbourne saw us sort of managing McAndrew and thought, well, we're out of the game already. We might as well do the same thing. So they didn't really take advantage of that low game time for McAndrew, and Toby Murray probably took more of the slack than I would have expected. But when he's on the field, he just makes such a difference. Yes, I think he's centre square. I think he's looking a bit tired and sometimes with his leaps in the centre square, but I'm really impressed by his follow-up work, particularly around the ground and with stoppages and his tackling. And now he's actually taken a few marks as well. You know, he's took a couple of contested marks on the weekend.
His marking has improved,
as you said,
I
reckon. He got back and took a few, and then obviously did that one where he spread forward and got one on, by himself essentially. So, there's just, you can see his game just growing each day, and I think it's exciting because he's a bit untapped, this guy. Obviously he hasn't had much of a football upbringing, and he's 25, but he's very inexperienced in AFL terms. So I think it's been really encouraging, along with Cook. Obviously, I think he's been one of the bright lights of the season in terms of newer players and emerging players in the team. And he's also, I mean, I don't have the stats to back me up, but it just feels like he's one of the more restrictive rucks in the league as well. I don't think a ruckman's had a really big day against us yet. I know he's got some challenges to come, but Sherry's up there, one of the better ruckmen going around at the moment, and he didn't really have much influence at all. So I think McAndrew's just tough to play against.
Well, I mean, he's 4 foot whatever it is, 6 foot whatever he is.
That'd be bad.
So that in itself makes him a bit tough, and even though he's wiry, he's still got that hard body from his rugby days and likes to tackle. And I felt like he wasn't intimidated by Cherry at all. Cherry tried to rough him up a little bit, but Lockie just said, "Well, let's go for a run, shall we?" And Cherry was struggling to keep up.
I think he likes the tough stuff.
I don't think he shies away from it at all.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't realise about him. He's tackling and his follow-up work on the deck. He's really impressed me in that regard. We knew he was a good tap and he had the height, but it's the other stuff that he's brought that it's definitely surpassed my expectations.
Yeah, Brownie, is that the end of Riley O'Brien's career?
I certainly hope so. Obviously, in the event of injury, he's not going to be our number one ruckman. Whether he, puts out the feelers and wants to go to another club, it's hard to see him becoming a number one ruckman at any other AFL club. Whether he wants to, take the chance of potentially being a second ruck on someone else's list, but I think it's unlikely that we'd ever play the two in the same team. So, barring injury, I think we probably asked him.
Big man, you disagree?
No, it's just the way the finality which he said it. Like Brownie said it. It just sounds a bit harsh, but I mean, it is true. I mean, to be fair to Rob, the rule changes have really screwed him over. He's not the only one. Kieran Briggs is another one. But unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation. Of course, it's a shame that for us that he's on such a big contract and he's got another 2 years after this year. So if he wants to move to another club and for opportunity, I don't know who's going to actually put up with that. At very least, put up with that sort of salary. So unless he's willing to take a pay cut, I suspect he's going to have to stay here. Admittedly, there's, going forward, we don't know if McAndrew gets an injury. Obviously, Rob will have to come in. That's a bit scary given the new ruck situation, but, maybe as the year goes on, he'll still have something to give, particularly against the less, the ones that don't jump. But the way teams are setting up now, that second ruck, a lot of them are using like centre bounce specialists. Oscar Steen, obviously, he's hurt his knee, but he's one. Max Heath, the guys who can really leap. And Rob's just not going to be able to compete against that. So it sounds like, Rob is on paper good backup to have, but the problem is he just doesn't suit the modern game anymore. So, it's probably something we have to address. Again, I think we need another backup ruck, particularly if Rob leaves, but I just don't see another club taking that salary.
Well, I think there's probably a couple that might take O'Brien in a pinch. A few people in chat have mentioned a couple of teams in difficult situations, but unless things change with that rule, or unless Riley finds a bit of spring, unfortunately, that might be pretty much it for him. Certainly as a first choice ruckman. Isaac Cumming, the coaches listened to us and moved him predominantly off the back half, and 17 touches, 9 kicks, 8 handballs, 1 tackle, 7 marks, 3 contested, 14 uncontested, 4 rebound 50s and 3 intercepts. Probably his most productive game, Brownie, of the year. 17 possessions isn't huge, but I think we got a glimpse of what we can expect with him and Miller off that half-back line.
Yeah, I mean, it probably wasn't his biggest possession game, but I just think the look of him running through half-back and spotting up someone, he's got the ability to hit someone, 30 metres away, 50 metres away. He's got a pretty flat trajectory kick, which is really suited to that sort of kicking from the half-back and trying to spot up a target. And I think it's just really his most natural position. And now that we've got two good guys on the wing, we don't miss anything by having him at halfback anyway. So the interesting thing is going to be when we get some of our defenders back, like Keane and Hinge and a few others. Are they going to stick with him there? But I'd love to see him stay there. I think it's definitely his best position.
Well, I was really pleased, big man, that when they decided to give Hugh Bond a rest, that they didn't just do the like for like, that they actually did pretty much what we described on Tuesday night and moved coming back and didn't just lob Nankervis, in the back pocket somewhere. And I thought it really suited him. And, Matthew Nicks almost seemed surprised in the presser, but I would have thought it would have been obvious because, that's where he played predominantly before he came to us.
Yeah, like I've said, when Whitfield went missing for a bit of time there, Cumming was the heir apparent, and he really did a good job in that role, like really like high end stuff. So I wasn't that surprised in seeing him perform that way. It's fancy playing a defender in defence. Like, you know what I mean? He just looked pretty natural back there. It was interesting. I actually posted because I saw it. I went to training on the main session. I noticed he was named in defence there. So I was thinking to myself, was that actually going to happen in the game? And yeah, as it turned out, it was. So I'm glad we're being proactive with that sort of thing, even though it does feel like it's been pretty obvious for a little while now that he should be playing back there. But hey, we've done it. It looked great. Unfortunately, it sounds like he may have hurt a hamstring, but going forward, I'd love to see him play in that role as much as possible. And yeah, I think Nank upfield, being able to get into the forward line as well, kick a couple of goals and just show his X factor. It looked like a really good sort of combination there. So I think we looked much more dangerous with those sort of changes.
Yeah, agreed. We'll get to this talking point in a minute, but there's going to be a bit of a squeeze in a few spots in a couple of weeks, probably after the bye, because barring any further injuries, touchwood, we'll just about have a full squad. So another bloke who I thought just took another step, had a slow start to the season, Max Michaelani, 8 kicks, 7 handballs, 4 tackles, 5 marks, 2 contested and 14 uncontested possessions. 1 rebound and 1 intercept. Probably doesn't illustrate the impact that he had. I thought he provided a lot of run again off halfback, and it was good to see that he was able to release a little bit. Whereas prior to the Richmond game, he was probably playing very defensively, big man.
Yeah, he showed a couple of bursts of speed, particularly through the corridor against Richmond, and he did it again against the Roos. So he's showing that he's got that high-end speed and a bit of dash and excitement. And it's just a matter of can he keep doing it and do it a bit more throughout games. I think that's hopefully the end point for him, where he becomes that really dangerous, line-breaking sort of player, because he's capable of it. I still worry a bit about his kicking. It feels like he's lost a bit of depth in his kicking. I don't know if it's the strapping in the knee or the knee injury itself. It feels like he's maxed out a bit at about 40, 45, whereas I thought he used to have a bit of a more penetrating kick. I just noticed that a few times on the weekends and lately. So that's probably one area his disposal is probably a bit lacking still. But
why you got to be so negative?
I like the fact big man. No, I'm just because I'm just making sure we're covering all bases, but. No, you're right though. Like he's showing more aggressive intent to run with the footy, and not many can catch him. I love to see, and I'd also love to see him just intercept the ball a bit more. He's not taking as many intercept marks, but
wow,
more negativity. Slowly but surely,
he's had a good game.
I think you've influenced me too much, mate. Since I've joined the podcast, I can't help myself.
Yeah, righto.
But no, he's still got some way to go, but definitely showing some better signs the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I think overall the defence, Brownie, looked a little bit more balanced. I think it's probably clear that we can't play Laird and Bond in the same side anymore.
Yeah. The question is, did we drop the right one? But I think you've got to say we probably look better without Bond in the team. It's going to be interesting though, because when we've got another 5 guys coming of our first ranked players coming back into that side, who is going to make way? I mean, you'd like to think that Laird's going to go before anyone else in that back line, but yeah, I don't really know.
No.
If I was the coach, he'd be going. I know he did some good stuff on the weekend, but he also, 50% of his possessions were no good, either over or whatever. So yeah, I think he gets a lot of the ball, but I don't think he does any damage. I think the opposition are pretty happy when he's got the ball in his hand.
Oh, for sure. Like that loft kick he did to bloody LDU in the first quarter, that drove me nuts when they did that. It just frustrates me because he must know that he's not good when he kicks long. He can't kick long, but when he tries to, that 40-meter kick he does in the air, I'd love for him just to realise, hey, I'd be better off going short or giving it off to someone who can be a bit more penetrating. Because as I said, we said in previous weeks, he's just a bit of a handbrake, and like you said, teams give him a lot of latitude because he doesn't have the hurt factor of some of the other players in our team.
I was watching him a bit at the ground, and I think the other day I made an observation about his pace dropping off, but it seems to me like Laddie is playing very much like he plays the same game every week. There's no proactivity about his game. There's no, he doesn't try anything. He doesn't run through. He doesn't, like, you know what you're going to get when he gets the ball. You know what he's going to do. He's always pretty reliable on the deck. Like he's a good player. Let's not make any mistake about that. We don't mind him getting the ball. It's just what he does when he gets it, and that seems to be just the same every week. And you wonder whether he just needs a bit of a shake-up. Like, come on, Letty, you're a senior player, and you certainly didn't play like this when you were playing in the midfield. So how about you just wake up a little bit?
I don't mind him like getting around the ground for marks because he knows where to run. He's very natural ball winner in general. But I'd love for him if he's not going to go short and keep the ball moving, give it to someone else, by hands. Just wish he knew his limitations a bit more. I think if he can do that, then he's, we know what he offers when the ball hits the deck and his desperation at ground level. I got no issue with that. It's just in transition, he still stands out a bit, particularly compared to some of the other players like Miller, like even Max you talked about before, and some others, where it's just you can see the difference in how it changes the way we play.
But I don't think, Brownie, that we can afford to have a small defender that has to give the ball off.
Well, I'd rather he did give the ball off, but we don't ever give him the chance to give it off anyway. We never have players when he's got the ball. We don't ever have options running past him. They're always running forward, wanting him to kick the ball. So that makes him very limited because all he can do is a little 20-meter sideways kick, or he lobs it up down the line, and it generally comes back. So yeah, I think that's the issue, is that he is limited. When you say take a risk, the only thing he could probably do is when he marks it is actually keep moving, because when he marks it now, he just stops and he doesn't even think about playing on it. And maybe he needs to be given license, maybe to take a few risks and actually try and play on, because he has to run 5 or 6 steps, and then he's changed, the end point of his kick different, and he might he's basically mark, stop, and go back and kick.
I reckon you got to limit your responses to 10 seconds, Brownie, because it seems to drop out after about 10 seconds every time.
Not really. No worries.
Yeah, like if there was anyone that should take advantage of the stand rules, Laddie, because the Garden Gnome has a bit of trouble kicking over the bloke on the mark. So give yourself a little bit of room laterally, and then you might be able to do something. Like you said, Brownie, just take a couple of steps and free yourself up. But he's not even thinking that way, and you wonder whether he's just so entrenched in past game plans that he can't change. But I think there will come a time where it becomes something that needs to be addressed, but I don't know whether our coaching crew have the agates to address it.
Yeah, I don't even think they think it's a problem. I think they look at the stats, and he's getting good. Like you said, he's got the record for the most over 15 possessions in the game. They look at the fact he's getting the ball, but I don't think they're critical enough about what he does with it. He's just a club legend, and he doesn't get questioned.
Agreed. Now we have someone in YouTube chat. Just let me have a look here. Stimstar333, thanks very much for the support, mate. He says, will Tyler Welsh get delisted at the end of the season? What are your thoughts on our academy players' talent for next year? Oh, that's really a Tuesday night question, but big man, do you want to answer that real quick?
Yeah, so firstly on Welshie, one thing you notice straight away when you see him right now is that his body shape's changed dramatically. He's much thinner, and he's playing better footy because of it. He's transitioned his body fat percentage into the negatives, so he looks much fitter. He's covering the ground a lot more. It's not surprising. I mean, the fitter you are, generally the better you play. So,
Braden Cook's had a testament to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But like this is getting even more dramatic. Like,
no, but I'm just saying that's an example of exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Welsh is only 19 and a key position player, so he deserves to be cut some slack. Obviously, it's a harsh business, and he's got to show improvement on field. I think he has to an extent, but he hasn't had big games yet. He's definitely more involved, but he hasn't really put it together yet. And if he can have a couple of big games in the back half of the year, that, as well as the fact he's obviously put his head down and got to work, I think there's still a chance he could get, maybe an extra year as encouragement and sort of just to see, where he can go from here. But it's on a knife's edge for sure. And that's for the academy. I mean, there's a couple around the mark. Anthony Long is obviously going to be the big talking point at the end of the year. So I saw him train in the preseason. He's in our NGA, and he's got a bit the Sam Powell Peppers about him in that he's quite a bullocking midfielder who can get forward, kick a goal. He's a good tackler, a bit of a clearance player. So he's something to work with there. And I know Cal Toomey has spruiked his name quite a bit as having quite a bit of interest, from other clubs looking at him. So I'll be interested to see where he goes draft night, but it sounds like he's going to be, actually picked in the draft. So we might have a decent one to go with there. He's probably the main one. There's a few others, maybe a couple others for next year, but yeah, Anthony Long, he's the one to keep track of. He's playing for West Adelaide, and he'll be playing for the South Australia under-18 team in the championships coming up soon.
There you go. On Tyler Welsh, my own thoughts are that if he's showing signs of commitment, like if he's worked on his body shape, like you said, big man, and because the knock on him was obviously his lack of engagement early on. But if he's turned that around and his attitude's good, I'd be happy for us to give him another year, because I think he's got some natural ability, and he's still a kid, and he's a big kid, probably still growing into his body and understanding what he can do on the field. So really, as long as his attitude's okay, I'd be happy for us to give him one more.
Well, apparently he went to work with Braden Cook in the off season. We know what it did for Cookie, and as you said, and I think that shows that he's much more proactive and that he's not taking it for granted right now.
Yeah.
But he also needs to perform as well. And there's a few elements to his game where I'm still like, I don't know if you're AFL quality, but he does have some speed and explosiveness. He's got some tricks. It's one of those ones where I probably personally, I'd give it an extra year if you can keep the obviously this newfound attitude. Because I think there's just maybe a bit of untapped potential there that I just want to see if you can grow into something before, rather we do that and then rather than just, cut him off after 2 years. And I don't think we'd regret it, but I think it would be doing him and us a bit of a disservice if we just ditched him after 2 years.
Yeah, considering we've got Tex dropping off and, some questions around the makeup of our forward line, I think it'd be worth sticking with, just as long as his attitude's right. All right, who else do we want to have? Let's have a look at Keezy real quick. The Seagull. 9 kicks, 8 handballs, 1 tackle, 3 marks, 6 contested possessions, 10 uncontested, 1 mark inside, 52 rebounds, and how many goals did he kick? Kicked a couple, I think. Just the one that really impressed me was the one where he got the ball at halfback, or he started the chain at halfback and ended up being on the end of the chain in the forward pocket. Say what you like about Ben Keys, but Jesus Christ, he's got work rate. Unbelievable.
Yeah, his work rate was fantastic. He probably didn't. His stats weren't amazing. The thing that the frustration with him, that mark that he took 30 meters out on a 30 probably 40-degree angle, and he decided to kick it on his bloody right boot around the body when should have just been a regulation bloody 30-meter through the goals on his left. What the hell was he thinking? And how the hell does he think that that's acceptable when his right foot is basically no good? Like, he's terrible.
I think you use the word Ben Keys and thinking in the same sentence, and I don't know whether that's necessarily appropriate. Do you, big man?
He does some bizarre things. That one's set me off a bit, actually. I was a bit annoyed about that. It was almost like he thought, well, we're up by 70, 80 points, so I might practice my right foot here. It was just like, he's kicked goals from that side too, with his left too. So I'm not sure why he felt the need to do it. But, that's Keezy though. He's a funny play. He's one of those guys that just knows where to be in the right spot. So he's always going to have shots on goal and get involved. But, sometimes he makes you think, what is going on in his head?
But, like for all that, there are times when his work rate and his second efforts alone are invaluable. And, he's not polished at all. But some of the stuff that he does is inspirational, and he's not actually bad at forward half stoppage, particularly boundary throw-ins, getting free as well, and working with the ruckman. So he's one of those. I'm glad he's not really involved in our midfield anymore, but he's one of those. I guess you've got to take the good with the bad until something better comes along. All right, Luke Nankervis. We're all very happy to have Luke Nankervis in the side, I would have thought, and didn't get huge amount of the ball, didn't have huge game time, but 6 kicks, 5 handballs, but 2 lovely goals, 2 tackles a mark, 4 contested possessions, 7 uncontested. The thing, stats aside, the thing about Luke is that he didn't look out of place at all, big man. He just looked like he belonged, and the kid just needs to be persevered with, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm a broken record with this guy. I'm one of his big supporters, and I know you're on board too, boss. But he's got X factor, and he's got AFL traits. It's just a matter of pumping games and getting consistency into him, and we just haven't done it. Even this game, he was a late in, So I can't imagine for him, playing each week. He must feel like Nick's is right behind his shoulder, just breathing down his neck, waiting for him to make a mistake. But those 2 goals he kicked, they were both absolute rippers, particularly the second one. So hopefully he gets a bit of confidence from that. I still think we're missing a trick by not playing him every week, because he's such an important part of that Rochelle and Saligo and obviously Nankervis group. That's that core, that nucleus of the young players that are at the club. So I think it's really important we keep playing him. He's flexible too. He gives you options down back as well as obviously on the wing, and he can even sneak forward and kick a goal. I think we'd be mad to drop him. If Cummings not injured, then it'd be interesting to see what they do. But gee, it'd be harsh, the way he played. He didn't do a whole lot wrong other than that kicked the ball haze in the last quarter.
Yeah, Brownie. I just think there's a spot for him, and the positions are going to be difficult, and it's going to be difficult for Luke with Calamarchi coming back, and a couple of others coming back in defence as well. But I just feel like he's good enough to play first 23 for an AFL side, and it's going to be really unfortunate, I think, if it's not for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we've been saying all year. If he doesn't get a fair run at it, there's no doubt that he's going to end up on someone else's list. But just the fact that he's got time, the thing that impressed me on the weekend was just his decision making. And I think that's because he's got time. He doesn't ever seem flustered, and he generally makes the right decision. Some of his bloody distribution, I know he didn't have a lot of kicks, but he did one running out of the back line that just a really laser pass over 40 metres and hit the target. The 2 goals he kicked were exceptional. Like, he didn't have a lot of time with that check side. He just nailed it. And the other one was walking around 2 players and a little bit of Darren Jarman there. It was unbelievable. And I think they've just got to find a way to keep him in the side and give him like a bank of 5 or 6 games.
Now, big man, I know you're having PTSD because Jake in the chat is suggesting Zach Taylor comes out for Archie. But I don't think Zach Taylor did his position in the side any harm either, and got a couple of CBAs towards the end. 6 kicks, 9 handballs. 5 tackles, 5 contested, 10 uncontested, 1 inside 50, and got a clearance around stoppage, and I think had 3 or 4 CBAs in the last quarter. Another one who just looks composed and has really good IQ on the ground, and you just think, how are we going to keep this kid in the side?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one because I'm a fanboy, but that was his highest rated game for the year. So in terms of the actual production. That's the best he's had this year so far, and he just looked really a bit more comfortable. I think the fact that he even chucked him in for a couple of centre bounces, says a bit. So I know he had
See what
one or
happens
two
when you go on
mistakes
radio and have a bit of a whinge about not getting CBAs. The coach is listening, even though the coach isn't listening to outside noise.
Yeah, he got 2. I mean, it's still slim pickings, but it's better than 0. So, I wish he kicked that goal. It's probably the one area he's not really kicking goals, but he's actually setting up quite a few. He had another couple of goal assists on the weekend, and just got those little deft touches and handballs, and he's a very creative, clever little player. So, yeah, I'm a fan, so I'm not much more for me to say, but I'm just glad he's actually had a pretty good run at it this year. I think since the Geelong game in round 3, he hasn't been dropped. So he's played the majority of games, and I think he's building reasonably well as the season goes on. But we've talked about how when we get the troops back, people have to make way. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with when Archie is ready to come in, whether that's this week or after the bye. The way we're going, we'll probably get some other injuries that keep him in the team. But yeah, it'd be pretty harsh to drop him because he actually is playing better footy now than he has, in the weeks previous. I think he's in some of the better form that we've seen from since he's come to the team.
And Brownie, you noticed something that he did as well during the course of the game, which may have gone unnoticed by many.
Was that the handball?
No, that was the Fogarty mark.
Oh yeah, I did know that ball that came into Fogarty, where Fogarty took the mark and kicked the goal, and it was basically 2-on-2, and Zach just worked really hard, not to shepherd, but just to keep enough body pressure on his player to keep him out of the contest, and enabled Fog to have a one-on-one and take the mark under a bit of pressure still. But had not done his job, it would have been 2-on-1, and he probably got spoiled. So he's doing the little things, and the fact that he had the awareness to do it. Face a goal, he could have been thinking about crumbing or whatever, but he actually had the presence of mind to do the team thing and basically gave Fog another goal. So no, that was really impressive. When I said about the handball, he did do one handball where he panicked a bit and he just smashed it over his head about 20 metres to no one. But I think that's the only loose thing that he did for the whole game. Everything else he did was pretty good.
Now, someone that people would feel that I'm remiss if I didn't pick him out was Luke Pedlar. 8 kicks, 8 handballs, so 16 touches. Didn't kick a goal, but 3 tackles, 5 contested possessions, 12 uncontested, 2 inside 50s, 2 stoppage clearances, and also got a bit of a run through the middle, which just made my day. And again, another one who, playing that graveyard shift that Zach Taylor describes, and I just feel like it'd be so good if we get another 5 touches out of Luke. But I thought he played pretty well as well on Saturday, Brownie.
Yeah, he did. The only knock I'd have on him is unusual for him because he's normally good overhead, but he dropped 3 marks that he should have taken, and 2 of them would have been shots on goal. But just his attack, there are a couple of situations where his attack on the ball was so bloody fierce, and one where he sort of clashed with one of the North. I can't remember who it was, a North Melbourne player, and they both got up, but God, they went hard. And when he's going for his marks, he's just solely focused on the ball and doesn't really care what's in his way. He's just got to get a little bit more in terms of output, but he's building well. I think we're just got to stick with him. He's going to be a very good footballer, and if they persevere with him through the midfield, I think he's got some real potential to do a bit of damage and just add a bit more physicality to our midfield.
Well, I mean, big man, he's another, I reckon, that if he doesn't end up making it in our best 23, he's going to make it on someone's list, don't you think?
Potentially. I mean, obviously, I think there'd be clubs interested in him because he offers something a bit different. I didn't like the way he started the game. He was dropping marks and he was fumbling, but you're right, he did work himself into the game quite nicely, and he probably didn't take his chances around goal, but he was a bit stiff at that poster. But yeah, he's quite a dynamic player. I think he's a bit down on confidence still. I know he had that a couple of that 3-goal game against Brisbane a few weeks ago, but otherwise he still made a couple of errors and
Hang on,
soft up his opportunities.
hang on. I can see what this is. I can see exactly what this is. This is I want Zach Taylor to stay in the side bloody narrative, because what you're saying is absolute rubbish, big man. Absolute rubbish. And the chat's agreeing with me. I've seen right through you. Seen right through you. I am absolutely gobsmacked that your bias has come through, and it's called everything that you've ever said in your life into question, big man. Can you be trusted?
No, look, I think that's because I sound like I'm being negative, and I'm a little bit.
Yes, you are.
It's just because I have really high expectations of this guy, and I really believe he can put it together and take over games. But he's just, there's just moments where I just like, I wish Pedler would do that better. Hang on. And not stuff it
what
up.
What you're doing now is like when you go up to a woman and you say, I think you're doing really well to pull that off, even wearing that, even though your hair's a bit weird. Like, you're negging him. I'm only ragging on him because he's got so much potential. Give it up, man. I can see right through you.
Look, I don't think. Look, I still think he's ahead of Zach in the pecking order anyway. I think he's higher rated by the coaches. But I just want him to tidy his game up, because I think there's a real big game in the wake for him. But it's just a matter of putting it together and refining his game and not making the little errors, because he's got the talent.
Brownie, give us some objectivity here.
I can't knock big man saying he had 3 opportunities to take marks that he would normally mark. So on that one game, he could have tidied a few things up. But over the last 5 weeks, I think with the opportunities that he's had, he's made the most of them. So I think he might have had 1 week where he dropped a few, but then Wayne Miller missed 3 passes and dropped 3 marks as well. So, one of those days.
I reckon it was more than 3. I reckon Miller missed more than 3. I reckon the first 5 kicks he had missed the target. It was crazy. It
wasn't a great day for him.
It was so unusual.
Yeah, very unlike him.
Like, he didn't have a bad game, Miller, but like, he just kept missing. It's like, what the hell's going on? Billy, we've already talked about Max, so you might have to rewind afterwards and listen to our gushing praise of Mr. Michaelani. Anyone else you'd like to speak about, big man?
What else to talk about? Okay. So Toby Murray.
Yes, of course. Of course.
That's some back-to-back pretty handy games from the big fella. Actually, 3 now. He's good for 2 goals, 1 or 2 goals a game. So, just some good signs. Obviously, he's still early in his career, and there's still some times where you wonder, but his aggression, his tackling, his aerial presence has improved as well, and he's really mobile for a 200-centimeter guy. So could be something to work with there. I think I'm glad we're giving him some exposure now. I think at some point he's probably going to hit a bit of a wall, but in the limited sample size we've got, obviously we've got to look forward to the post-Tex era, and he's not Tex, don't get me wrong, but as that sort of backup ruck / forward option, I think he's actually surpassed what I was expecting from this year.
He just seems like an old school natural country footballer, Brownie. He's got massive paws and he just swallows the ball up. He's good at ground level and does the defensive stuff well, and his kicking's improving. I would say a little bit of an area for him to work on, but along with his ruck work. But he's certainly competitive, and he doesn't look like he doesn't belong, does he?
Oh no! Considering the number of games he's been fantastic. But I thought his ruck work was the best it's been this week. I thought he really got his hands on the ball. He seemed to time his jumps a bit better.
Had 13 hit outs.
He's only going to get better with that. I think if he's starting to show improvement, but he's tackling, like, you've got the 2 biggest guys in our team got 6 tackles each. I mean, that's just fantastic. And leading from the front, setting the example. So, yeah, no, he's got massive upside. I think we stick with him for the rest of the year, and you know, he should be a natural replacement for Tex next year, I think.
Yeah, I think big man, the 5 on the bench probably helps Toby's development because it probably allows him to stay in the team as a genuine second ruck coming off the bench once Thilthorpe comes back in. And we know that he can give Thilthorpe a chop out as well up forward and take a bit of a clunk.
No, I agree. You know, I mean, he was there round one, wasn't he, when all those guys were in the team?
Yeah.
And so you could see that the coaches saw something in him, and you know, obviously we've been giving him more of the reins because we've reduced McAndrew's time, so he's getting more ruck time, and also with the injuries to Fogs, Filthy, and Tex over the last few weeks, he's getting, you know, opportunities up forward as well, and he hasn't let the coaches down. So I can definitely see him staying in the team even when those guys come back in. It's probably going to mean reduced time for him. He's probably going to, you know, gain time, and he's probably more of a backup ruck than he's probably going to be like a big mainstay forward. But no, I think there's definitely, you know, the way in which the game with the 5 on the bench now, and most teams running dual rucks, I can see us persisting with him until he gets the tires out, I guess.
Yeah, Chris Mills in the chat on YouTube makes a good point. Four goals from our ruckman. When was the last time we got 4 goals from our ruckman?
Never.
Romano Negri, maybe?
Rob kicked two in a game last year, didn't he? Was that the year? I can't remember. I know he kicked 2 in a game once.
Yeah, but they were accidental. But I mean, it certainly gives us some flexibility, and I think we'll probably finish off this conversation tonight with a bit of a chat, not so much about next week, but just about team makeup, because you know, the beauty of injuries and having to bring other players into the side is that you can see options, and we now have options very much not only across half-back but also up forward and with our midfield mix, and it gives the coaching staff some food for thought. And I think the biggest point of interest is going to be how they settle on our best forward 7, say, Brownie.
Are you talking for next week or in the long term?
Just in general this season. I mean, next week, you know, it depends on injuries. But if you're talking about our best 23 this season, what do you think our forward line looks like in that best 23?
It's going to be really difficult because I think with them being fit, you're going to have Filthy and Tex and Fog in our 23, but then you've got probably 5 small forwards to fit into 3 places. So then, yeah, I don't know, because I mean, Saligo's done nothing to hurt his chances with the way he played this week. Rash is a lock. Archie, yeah, I don't know.
Bless you.
I'll be interested to see whether, yeah, he's probably got to get some game time and get a little bit fit to show his best, but he's going to be sort of up against it to hold his spot. I reckon it's going to be like we're going to have, if we can get everyone healthy, we're going to have like an absolute riches in the forward line to choose from. So yeah, I really don't know.
What's your thoughts, big man?
Well, I mean, injuries have sort of made our decision for us, haven't they, most weeks? So it's hard to imagine a week when we actually have all these guys available at once. Probably the way this year's going, it probably will never happen, but let's say it does.
Well, after the bye, we're going to have most of these forwards available. You would think.
Yeah, but whenever we train, we get new back injuries and all sorts of things, don't we? So, but anyway, let's just say everyone's available. I think that, I think it's the 3 talls plus Murray on the bench. So, you know, Fog, Thilthorpe and Tex. I know some people say, well, is Tex going to get back in the team? And I mean, he's not going to play every game, but I still think if he's fit to go, that he's still going to be there because he's a goal kicker. And he's got that class that we still need. And I think that's going to be more evident as the season goes on and Murray potentially tires out. But yeah, I think Murray's kept his space time in the team. Like in terms of playing that backup ruck plus the forward role. As Brownie mentioned, it's the smalls that are going to be really hard to figure out because, as you said, Rash isn't going anywhere. Archie, we're not good enough to not have a bloody two-time premiership player in our bloody forward line. Like he's quality. He's just got to get on the park. You got Keys and Neil Bullen. They're not going to get kicked out of the team, and they're doing pretty well this year, even though Neil Bullen still looks a bit sore to me.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
Which part?
That Keys and Neil Bullen.
Well, from a coach, in terms of what we know from who the coaches rate, they're not going to get kicked out of the team.
No.
It's your Pedlers, it's your Taylors. Saligo played full-time forward, and as Brownie mentioned, he had a really solid game actually, so that was good to see. But you think he's going forward, he's still going to work his way as mostly a midfielder. But yeah, there's not enough spots for a lot of players, and some guys are going to get harshly treated. And I think obviously Milk's probably number one to come out, but even Pedler and such. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But I mean, it's good to have those sort of problems. I'd rather that than. I mean, what it does show is we don't have a lot of stars. We've got some clearly like Rankin and Thilthorpe and Dawson and such, but compared to some of the other teams, we don't have as many guns. But geez, our depth is pretty good. We've copped injuries this year, and we've still had, particularly in the key position stakes, and we've still had players that come in like Borlays who had another pretty solid game on the weekend, and some other clubs wouldn't be able to handle these sort of injuries we've had this year to key players as well as we have. And yeah, we've got a really solid list with a lot of soldiers who can pick up the slack, which is probably a strength that we have.
Yeah, I think selection pressure is always good for a side, and I think we're getting to a point now where there are pressure for spots. What worries me is gold tickets, and it worries me that you mentioned, we know that Keys and A and B are not going to get dropped. Well, I mean, yes, we do know that, but that's not necessarily upholding selection integrity, because personally, I think you can only have one of those two in the side. And I think we're losing something by having both of them in the side, and I think it dampens Zach Taylor's input, it dampens Luke Pedler's input, and I would hate to have one of those two lads dropped in favour of keeping A and B and Keys in the same side when Archie comes back in, assuming Archie plays that high half forward. He may end up playing on the wing. So we get to this point again, which always seems to be an issue with Crow sides, where golden tickets take precedence over selection integrity, just the same as Rory Laird down back. Now, Rory Laird's got a lot of great attributes, but do we have better options? We've seen Cumming go back now and do a good job. Does that mean that Max Michaelani shifts over to Lairdy's role? Do we have room for a bloke who is fantastic at ground ball but does nothing with it once he gets it? These sort of questions, I think, will be if we do get healthy. These are the questions that are going to be asked, and it'll be very interesting to see how the selection committee handles that, Brownie.
Yeah, especially when you've got Kane and Hinge, who I think are both in our best 23, coming back into the side. Yeah, something like moving Michael Annie in the Laird's role would make perfect sense. But I agree totally. He's got the golden ticket. It's the same as Brodie Smith. It's the same as what's his name? Bloody who's that?
Matt
Rory
Crouch.
bloody. Oh well, yeah. Well, Matt Crouch was another. Who they probably played 1.5 seasons longer than they should have in terms of like their kicking ability and their ability to get meters gained sort of had gone and hit targets, but they kept in the side. I hope that doesn't happen with Lairdy. And again, I think, like you said, in the forward line, if you've got like A and B hasn't been amazing. I don't think he's a lock, and I think that's the. I know he comes with a reputation, and he's a great club man, and he's all of that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you've got to earn your spot, and you'd like to think that the selectors are being impartial and just looking at facts and performance. But yeah, I don't have the confidence that'll happen. That's for sure.
Big man, any merit in playing Tex and Fog, rotating them and giving one of them a bench spot so that we maintain that flexibility? Because the one thing that we do have, because we play all these lads out of position, is that we've got a few midfield options, which means that we can rotate a few through the midfield without having to use up a bench spot. And I'm talking about Rochelle and now, Pedler and Taylor. Does that give us some more options to maybe use our bench to do some, some rotations of some of our big men, or at least give us some options to have different looks up forward?
You say in terms of like not having them on at the same time? Is that what you're suggesting?
Correct.
Tex and Fog?
Correct.
You think they're too similar?
Well, no, I just think it's time for something different. I honestly, think that it impacts the way we go forward, and I think it impacts the way the ball comes out of our forward 50. And I think it's not so much that we're too tall; it's that we're too slow. With the three of them in there,
because both players, like Thilthorpe's the only one who, and even that I would say is debatable, is the only one who probably suits long kicks to contested situations. Both Fog, as we saw on the weekend.
Well, we've got Toby Murray
as well. They're both much better on the lead and in space, and
that's what I'm saying. They're too much the same.
No, but I think both of them, they're similar in the sense that they both. I think they should encourage the ball movement we saw on the weekend, because it helps their game as well as obviously the rest of our team, because they both aren't great contested marks, but what they are they're very good in the lead.
Yeah, but they're not small forwards. They're still big, bulky forwards. They're not fast-moving forwards. And
no, it's
the thing is that they. Yeah, go on. Sorry,
I was going to say it's the other side of the game with the pressure stuff, like allowing opposition teams. We didn't allow the North Melbourne to run the ball out nearly as well as other teams have this year, and that would be partly because we don't have Tex back, up forward. Obviously, Tex is a great footballer. He's never been a good chaser. He's very slow. So, no, I agree. That's something going forward. But at the same time, class is class, and Tex has an uncanny ability to create goals and kick goals. And
I'm not saying it shouldn't be in the side
as well.
I'm not saying that shouldn't be in the side. I think it's worthwhile having options, and I think having a bench spot for one of those two players. And you could even include Toby Murray in that to a degree in terms of rotating and stuff, allows us to set up differently, at different times of the game. We can, it's all about making yourself hard to match up against and hard to play against. And, I think because Fogarty and Tex are quite similar players in many respects, there is that opportunity to interchange them, and that helps Tex get through a season as well. He's not playing bloody 80% game time or whatever. He's maybe playing 50% game time.
No, I can see that, and having Murray in this as another fourth tall allows that flexibility, and also allows us to maintain a 2 or 3 tall forward line throughout most of the game. Like I did notice, particularly in the second half, when we were managing players like McAndrew, so Murray had to play predominantly ruck. We did look a little bit short. We didn't have many options at times, kicking into the forward 50. We had Dawson had to play quite a bit up there as well, and he's great. Obviously he can play anywhere, Dawson, but he's not a key forward. So I think it'll be welcome to have at least one more tall back in the team. As you said, the question mark's going to be when Thilthorpe and Tex are back in, and there's a chance neither play this week, so we won't be able to test that out. Post-bye, it'll be interesting to see. I think Murray's going to become more of a backup ruck in the back half of the year than a tall forward in terms of where his majority of his football is being played, bar injury, of course. But yeah, no, I definitely think it's a point of contention.
Because I think, Brownie, having that sort of configuration allows Riley Thilthorpe to maybe play a little bit higher, play that higher centre half forward role, get up the ground, get involved more. As I said last week, having a $2 million player sitting in the goal square to me doesn't make any sense when he's got so many skills below his feet and he's not the big bustling power forward type. So yeah, I don't know. I think it really poses some interesting questions going forward, the success that we had with the forward configuration we had on Saturday, Brownie.
Yeah, and talking about Riley in particular, like you said, if we did, try starting him at a half forward, centre half forward instead of deep, I think in the games where he's having a little bit of trouble getting involved, he's got the option then of running up the field and getting the ball on the wing and finding other ways to get involved rather than just waiting for the ball to come to him. And then getting that confidence and then going back and once he's got his confidence up, he can do some damage. But I think it just gives us a bit more option. And I do like the idea of sort of a bit more of a rotation in terms of one of them being on the bench. Not always, but at times, I think it makes sense, and it does make us a little bit harder to match up on. And Thilthorpe could be another one that, he pushes a little bit more to the bench at times, especially when he's in this period where he's not 100%. But, yeah, I think just those kind of not being predictable, is probably what would be really advantageous because the one thing in the finals last year is we were predictable, we were easy to coach against, and, that was one of the major problems why we didn't go any further.
Yeah, very one-dimensional. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good situation that we find ourselves in, and we've obviously recruited for the now with Peatling and Cumming and A&B and Archie, but it kind of puts us in a position now with these younger lads coming through where, you would, just by virtue of us spending money on these blokes, they got to kind of pick them. And so these younger lads get pushed out, and you could see a world where neither Zach Taylor nor Luke Pedler get a run in the ones to fit A and B and Archie in, depending on where we play. So, injuries obviously dilute that big man, as you said, but a full list, and there's a lot of questions to be asked, and it'll be an interesting exercise to see what, under those circumstances, our coaching staff think is actually our best 23.
It will be. I don't think we have to, as I said, I don't think we have to worry. There's a lot of injuries happening in the AFL right now, and they're going to keep happening to us as well. We know that, and the good thing is we've exposed a few players this year. I think we've got, obviously, Cook's been one, McAndrew, and now Murray, and you could even put Zach Taylor in there as well, probably, given he's played the last 6 or 7 games. So
yeah, Luke
that's
Pedler.
been one benefit of injuries. Yeah, Luke has had a decent spread of games as well. No, he missed a game or 2 for injury, but you're right. He's had a few now.
Straight back in.
I wish Nate got the same love, but I think that's been one of the positives from this year. But you're right. I mean, it's good, as I said, it's a good problem to have, but there's going to be a few disappointed boys if that's the case, and you always wonder how that's going to upset them in terms of going forward with the future and what they decide to do. But I mean, footy's a tough gig, and if we've got these problems, then it means we should have a decent team out in the park each week and should be expecting to win games, which at the moment we've been spluttering here or there until this week where we've actually put a proper, seriously good performance for the first time this year. So it's probably changed the expectations a bit now.
And I was just about to say, isn't it interesting, one decent game with some good ball movement and a positive game style, and all of a sudden we're not talking about sacking nicks, we're talking about who's going to get left out of the side. So let's just talk quickly about that, because I think Matthew Nicks has probably felt under a little bit of pressure, and we've mentioned certain people have put up that there's been talks between players and coaches and all the rest of it, and Big Man on Tuesday night, we talked about, tension not necessarily being a bad thing if it brings about good outcomes, and maybe this is the result of that, where there's been what Phil Walsh used to call some man conversations.
Oh yeah.
The real question, I think, going forward is, as I said earlier, when we get under the pump and we are forced to play this style of football under real frontal pressure, real strong opposition, like a Sydney or like a Hawthorn or a Fremantle, whether we can sustain it or whether the coach pulls us back into that sit-back defensive sort of situation. What's your read? What do you reckon under those circumstances might happen?
No, I still have concerns because we know what it's like when you cop that heat, and we didn't cop that on the weekend. In fact, it was probably the opposite. North really stepped off the gas after the first 10 minutes and never got it back on their terms pretty much. Whereas, I think as soon as this Thursday, I'm expecting a pretty fired up Hawks. They've lost the last few games now, so they're going to want to win, and they'll see a pretty, not an easy kill on us, but on their home deck, I know it's a nonsense to be, you know what I mean? They'll be expecting to win, and they'll be hoping to win, so they'll come out firing. They're going to put us under a lot more pressure. So it's both the coaches and the players. Can they both cope with those situations? Can they make good decisions under pressure? Can they trust themselves? And if we have made adjustments to the game style, can we sort of restrain ourselves from going back to chipping it around and being stodgy again? Particularly if we cop off one or two easy goals from mistakes by, maybe we try to do too much and we get hurt on the other side. So,
yeah.
I mean, we're only hypothesizing here. We have to wait and see the proof in the eating and the pudding or whatever you say it is. But I think that for me, it's one of those things where you can only judge it when you see it. And I think a Thursday is going to be a really good litmus test. It's frustrating, I must admit, because it's a 5-day break off a 6-day break. So I get the feeling the boys are going to be a bit fatigued. I won't lie, because that's pretty nasty scheduling to be honest. But I'm hoping with the bye obviously coming after it that they can give it a fair yelp and we can see what it's like against better opposition.
Well, Hawthorn are coming off a 5-day break as well.
Yeah, but that's coming off a 9-day break before that, or it's
what did we have?
7. One of those.
We did as well.
6. So we went from we went from a 6 into a 5. And they always say it's the second. It's the doubling up of 6-day breaks. And this is a 5-day break, so it's even harsher. That's the one that gets the players because they just don't have the recovery.
Oh well, we had 9 days the previous week after the Port game.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Brownie? Do you think he goes back into his shell the moment we get challenged, or do you think the player power will keep the shackles off?
I think his natural inclination will be to pull it back. I don't mind if he pulls it back for 5-minute periods during a game, but if he pulls it back completely, I mean, the only way we're going to get good at playing fast football and taking risks is by doing it week in, week out and making a few mistakes and then learning from them and just getting better at it. And I think if we're not trying to do it against the best teams, then we're wasting our time. We can't just come out and do it against the bottom 8. We've got to get better at doing it against the teams that are giving us that frontal pressure. So, yeah, I've got no confidence that he'll stick at it. But if you look at the way we played this week, and you believe what they said about the players, having a word with him, he's obviously listened. It's just a matter of whether he'll go the long haul or whether it's just a reaction and he goes back to his old ways.
Yeah. Jad puts up the Ken Hinckley quote, and I was going to refer to that as well, Jad, because I actually think the next month is going to decide what happens with Matthew Nicks going forward. I really do, because I think if he reverts back to a negative, risk-averse game style and it's unsuccessful, and in all likelihood it will be, then I think that's him done. I think what that does is exposes him as a coach that lacks courage and lacks trust in his players. Whereas if he can cop the heat and even cop a loss playing that style of football, knowing that it's better in the longer term that we start adapting to that style of football. And if you can let them go and let them play and, come what may, then perhaps, he continues on and if the success comes. But I think this is a really important month for Matthew Nicks. I think this will tell us everything that we need to know about him. Big man.
It's a tough run. Yeah, like
it's
a tough run, right?
But
go
on.
I mean, Hawthorn at UTAS, then we've got the bye, obviously, but then Geelong in Adelaide, which, we just haven't beaten them too often the last 5 years. Jeez, when is the last time we beat Geelong? So anyone can tell me. It wasn't that round one game, was it, in 2021?
I think it was in an Escort Cup game in 1983. I think North Adelaide or someone probably beat them.
But
it was that prelim final, wasn't it?
The 2017?
I reckon that's just about the last time we beat them.
No, first round.
No, it was that round one game. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
But then we've got Bulldogs at Marvel. That's never easy, even though they're struggling a bit. And they've got Melbourne, who's playing some of the best football in the comp. So,
we're playing for a spot in the 8 against Melbourne because they're the team that's taken our spot in the 8.
No, you're right. So, not easy. But
and Stephen King's got them playing very positive football, Melbourne, and this is my point. Will he have the nuts to read the tea leaves, play this style of football, bet it in? He's got the opportunity of a break over the bye to bet it in. Make it a bit more natural for the players, build some new structures around it, and hit the second half of the season, hopefully with touch wood, with a relatively healthy squad. Able to make a real run at it because it doesn't matter what the first half of the year looks like in terms of form. We can reset at the bye, play positive football. We're not far out of the 4, and that might sound fanciful, but it only takes a bit of a form turnaround for that to happen. And I think for Matthew Nicks to make that happen for this side, he's got to stay positive.
No, I agree. But I think and I will say the major positive is that. And look, we are, we are pretty positive compared to our previous weeks than we, this week in terms of our, we were just praising the team left, right and centre. But with the draw we've had, and I know we haven't beaten, apart from maybe Collingwood, we haven't really beaten the teams that you above us. I still think 6-4 is a really good result given the injuries we've had to go into so. As you said, we've got to come out with at least a couple of wins in these next 4. And, this is going to be the defining point of our season. There's no point getting a couple of late wins late in the year to tidy things up. If we're going to compete in some fashion this year, it's got to go now. And hopefully the North Melbourne game will give the boys the confidence and the drive to really get the season going because, to this point it hasn't. But that was a different Adelaide, I think, on Saturday. That felt like I was watching the team of the first, couple of months last year.
Yeah,
on the weekend. So let's hope it's a turning point.
Yeah. Billy in the chat, Brownie says 6 degrees on Thursday in Tassie, tank top weather down there.
No.
So
yep.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't get pushed into playing Thilthorpe or Tex, in my opinion, because that's a recipe for disaster.
I know the Hall of Flames for your show on Tuesday, Boss, your Macca, but
yes,
just a quick one in preempt of that. Can I flame the bloody AFL schedules for another bloody night game in winter at Tassie?
No, you can't. No, you can't because you're not part of the Tuesday night show, and that's Macca's. And you can't just bully an old man just because you feel like it. I'm protecting Macca in this one.
Oh, please. Please. But yeah, I don't know what they're thinking. We saw it last year. We saw how poor that game was last year. It was so dewy and slippery. And if it's 6 degrees on Thursday night, then it's going to be the exact same thing. It's going to be shit ass to watch.
I mean, you look at the fixture and you wonder what goes through their head. Like next week, I was looking at this before going, surely that can't be right, but it is right. So next week, we've got Hawthorn and Adelaide on a Thursday night in Tasmania. On Friday, we've got the choice of Richmond v Essendon on a Friday night. How the hell does either of those clubs get a look in, let alone playing against each other on a Friday night? And then Freo St Kilda, which is also a bit of a dead thing. And then on Sunday, you've got probably the best match of the round, Bulldogs v Melbourne at 2:45 on a Sunday. It's whoever. Like you're right, big man. And didn't they go to some bloody Harvard bloke to do the fixturing or something? I can't remember, but they've royally destroyed it.
I just remember this time last year we had this game, and everyone was saying that's why.
Oh yeah, sorry, my mistake. Richmond v Essendon Dreamtime at the G. Sorry, I did.
Yeah,
about that.
But yeah, everyone was talking about how that game was so hard to watch because it was so slippery, and Tassie obviously needs an indoor stadium. So what does the AFL do? They schedule the same bloody game the next year.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
Isn't it about time that we stop gifting certain clubs certain marquee games?
The irony is that Essendon probably won't even have an Indigenous player playing in the Dreamtime game. Unless they put Jade Gresham in the team. So, yeah, I don't know. I know it's Kevin Sheedy's creation, but just Essendon seem to have a lot of these marquee games for a team that hasn't won a final in 20-something years.
I just think it's time to move on from it. I think you have a Dreamtime at the G game, but I think it's something to be earned, not something to be gifted. In fact, if Damien Barrett wants to have a third bloody showdown, let's make the Port Crows game Dreamtime at the G, because you know it's going to be a cracker every year. See how he likes that. So much ideas. Well, no, he would immediately kick off. Oh, you can't have dream. Well, you know, if you want to have a showdown, that's the trade-off. You got to dish off one of your marquee games. Anyway, all right. So, you know, we're a happy team at Adelaide, and we've got the happy team at Hawthorn on Thursday, and it'll be very interesting. As I said, I'm very you know, people think that we're negative here. I'd love nothing better than see the Crows just go on a march now and get to finals and do some damage. You know, that'd be best case scenario for everyone, and that's exactly what we want. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens on Thursday night and also post-bye, because I think it's probably going to make or break our season. Gentlemen, I think that might be it. Mr. Brown, what do you think? Anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, I'd just like to reiterate what you said there. That if we take Tex or Filthy there to play on a cold, wet night when they're both potential of, you know, re-injuring themselves or whatever, it would just be ridiculous. So let's hope that common sense prevails. We just try and play that small forward line and just try and keep doing a bit more of what we did this week.
Well said. And big man?
Yeah, I agree. I'll be interested to see what they do.
Did I catch you by surprise being on a podcast and asking you to speak?
Funny, mate.
Oh, I've had a good go at you tonight. It's been good.
No, that's all right. I can cop it. That's all right. Now, look, I think like Brownie's right. We shouldn't make. I think we saw it worked, and there's no point. I know Tex was talking about potentially coming in for the North game, which I couldn't believe. But we know how hamstrings are. You really got to make sure you're ready to go. Even if you feel like you might be. I still think it's better to give it an extra week. So with the bye coming up, rest him up. Don't get him in this bloody trip to Tassie, in the plane and cold night and risk it. Same goes for Thilthorpe. No point doing it.
I wouldn't even fly them over
what
there.
we had on the weekend worked.
I wouldn't even fly them over there.
I'm not taking them over at all.
Yeah, don't put them on the Cessna. Leave them at home.
And I'd even consider resting another one or two guys. Anyone who's banged up as well. Not that I'm throwing the game, but guys like Neil Bullen, who's obviously got a knee issue, and I think if we do play Archie, who should be ready. I mean, he's had plenty of time off since that injury in round 2.
Yeah.
I think that's a good like for like, and I think it'd give him an extra week to rest up and get that knee right, because obviously he's going to be part of our team after the bye. So that'd be one change I'd make. Otherwise, yeah, as Brownie said, don't bring in tools. It's going to be wet anyway. Just keep what we had.
Now, just before we sign off, and thanks to everyone who stuck with us in both the YouTube and also the Discord chat, don't forget, 30th of May. Big man, what's on the 30th of May?
30th of May is an event that hopefully no one turns up to, so that they don't see me. It's the bye weekend, so hopefully we get together for some festivities.
Fantastic.
Sounds like a good plan.
Now, I was going to... I had... and bloody Highway Inn haven't gotten back to me, the arseholes, but I'll keep trying. See if I can get a little bit of a bar tab going. But I did have a thought, because the other Hurley hotel that they've got, or one of the many, is the new Pasadena Hotel. I'm wondering whether that's too far south for people, because that's literally open in the last week, and they've got an amazing sports bar by the look of it. How do people feel about that instead of the Highway? Or should we just stick to the Highway and be done with
it? You're the boss, mate. It's literally your name. So you.
Well, I don't want to mess people around, but I'm thinking that the Hurley group might actually be a little bit more on board, a little bit of promotion for the hotel that they've just opened, like literally a week ago. And I might be able to get them to actually, in return for a little bit of exposure on what is the number one Crows podcast on the planet, for their little pub down at Pasadena. So, all right, I leave that with me. I will put it up on socials when it's been decided, but it's definitely going to be on the 30th. It's definitely going to be somewhere. It's definitely going to be in the afternoon, and Big Man's definitely going to be there. That's what I'm hearing.
That's the plan.
And Brownie, you'll be there too.
I will certainly be there.
And Macca will be
What about
there.
the great man? Oh, really?
Macca will definitely be there. Yep, he's going to be there. I'm not sure about Mrs. Macca, but Mr. Macca will definitely be there. Handing out... What he'll have is he's going to give out all the Sammy's vouchers that he's won on 5AA that he hasn't been able to use. And I can't promise anything, but I'll try and wangle a little bit of a bar tab in return for some sponsorship. But yeah, it'll be a good time just to get together, have a bit of a laugh and a beer, and watch a bit of footy and get to know each other, and yeah. All good. See how we go. But keep an eye on Discord and on our socials, and I'll firm up those details in the course of the next couple of days. All right. Well, that's it, gentlemen. Thanks, everyone in Discord. Thanks, everyone on YouTube. Thank you, Brownie. Thank you, Big Man. You're both good sports, and I know I'm an arsehole, but yeah, it's just that's just my persona. So I'll see you all. We'll see you all on Tuesday for Tuesday Night Live. And until then, be good, stay safe. Good night all.
See you guys.
Night, everyone.